In today's world, it's not just about being busy, it's about being constantly hurried. Productivity is praised, speed is power. Our worth is entangled in how much we can cram into every single day. Even those of us committed to following Christ can find ourselves caught in this relentless rush. Philosopher Dallas Willard called hurry the great enemy of spiritual life. I couldn't agree more. At first glance, being driven seems far from a spiritual crisis, but the consequences are dire. The secret enemy lurking beneath so much of our spiritual struggle isn't a glaring sin. It's simpler, more subtle. It's hurry. Corrie ten Boom, who survived the horrors of a concentration camp, knew this truth. If the devil can't make you sin, he'll make you busy. This obsession with speed stands in stark contrast to the life Jesus himself modeled. In Mark 6:31, amidst the pressing needs of the crowd, he instructs his disciples, "Come aside and rest a while." Rest wasn't merely a luxury, it was essential for spiritual vitality. When we exist perpetually on the brink of overwhelm, true communion with God becomes difficult. Our prayer life feels shallow, rushed. Compassion suffers, as we haven't the time or inner space for others. We may be active in church, even mission, yet miss the deep transformation Jesus intends. This is a hard truth to face. Could hurry be the very thing hindering the spiritual richness and freedom we long for? If a life of constant striving has left you feeling spiritually parched, yearning for more, stay with me. We'll explore how hurry undercuts the very growth we seek and the counterintuitive path to a different kind of life, one lived in the grace-filled rhythm of Jesus. Hurry isn't just about how we fill our hours. It's an internal state, a constant sense of being pulled, short on time, short on peace. This cuts us off in three critical ways. The foundation of spiritual life is connection with our Creator. Yet the prophet Isaiah warns, "In returning and rest you shall be saved, in quietness and trust shall be your strength." Isaiah 30:15. Hurry is the antithesis of this. When we're always rushing, prayer is squeezed into the gaps, if it happens at all. We may read the Bible, but do we truly meditate on its words, allowing them to seep deep within? I've been there. Mornings meant to be quiet. Prayer time turned into hurried skimming of devotional texts, just to cross it off my to-do list. My faith felt more like an obligation than a source of life. Jesus didn't just command us to love, he modeled it. In Luke 10, we see him interrupted by a frantic Martha, but he takes time for Mary, who simply sat at his feet. Our hurried hearts lose this capacity. Have you missed a friend's need because you were just too swamped to listen? Brushed off a child's plea to play? Hurry makes us present in body but absent in spirit. In our association with others, we should remember that every soul is under the watch care of Jesus. When hurry takes over, this profound truth is obscured. The rush creates inner turmoil. The Psalms describe a soul at peace, like a weaned child with its mother. Psalm 131:2. But our hurried lives are the opposite, agitated, unsettled. We lack the stillness to even recognize our own needs, let alone see how God is working in us. This is where the pain hits home. Hurry promises fulfillment but delivers exhaustion. Even with the noblest intentions, we can find ourselves spiritually malnourished, out of touch with those we love, and strangers to our own hearts. But it doesn't have to be this way. What if the solution begins with something that feels impossible? Slowing down? Could countering this relentless rush with intentional pause be a path to healing and true freedom? Now for the hard question, the one many of us instinctively avoid. Could being chronically too busy be hindering the spiritual richness we desperately crave? It seems almost sacrilegious to suggest. Isn't busyness often tied to good things? Church work, service, providing for loved ones? But let's be honest. When did it become a badge of honor to be constantly overwhelmed? When did we equate a packed schedule with Christ-likeness? Jesus indeed lived a life of purpose, yet his actions were never frenzied. In the gospel narratives, we see him slipping away for solitude, ministering unrushed, attuned to those in front of him. The prophet Elijah discovered a crucial truth. God often speaks not in the whirlwind or earthquake, but in a still small voice. 1 Kings 19. When we live as though everything hinges on our frantic activity, How can we discern that voice? An uncomfortable possibility. What if our ceaseless striving to do for God is actually getting in the way of His transformative work within us? What if the things we miss in the margins, moments of prayer, unhurried presence for a loved one, deep reflection on His Word, are the very things nourishing true spiritual growth? There is earnest work to do in the world, but this should not lead us to neglect spiritual things. Even well-meaning activity, divorced from abiding in Christ, becomes hollow. We all want a vibrant and impactful faith, a life echoing the peace Jesus promises. That's the yearning the enemy of hurry exploits. If we can be persuaded that this kind of life requires more frantic doing, not less, we become easy targets. This is an uncomfortable yet vital question to ponder. Does your spiritual life feel as rich, as grounded, as truly life-giving as you long for? If not, could hurry, even in the guise of good things, be playing a role? The answers may surprise you and set you on a path to deeper freedom. If we want a clearer picture of the spiritual life Jesus invites us into, it's time to break free of our culture's rush and look directly at Him. A bold statement, but true. Hurry is incompatible with Jesus' way, with the very nature of His kingdom. In Mark 5, amidst crowds clamoring for Jesus' attention, a woman suffering for 12 years reaches out in desperate faith. Imagine this. Doctors, appointments, treatments. Nothing worked. She's an outcast, yet believes this rabbi might be different. Could Jesus have easily missed her amid the chaos? Absolutely, but He didn't. He pauses, sensing the touch, then seeks her out with the question, "Who touched me?" His disciples are baffled. Everyone's touching Him. But Jesus waits, unrushed, until this trembling woman reveals herself. He sees her, heals her, restores her. This stands sharply against how we often operate. Rushing from task to task, we can miss the hurting right in front of us. Even in acts of service, we may give from a place of depletion, our souls parched because we don't follow Jesus' model of drawing strength from the Father. We sincerely desire to live like Christ, to extend His grace to a broken world. Yet we desperately miss a foundational piece: His pace. Ellen White, a Christian writer, puts it this way: Christ could work only in accordance with the laws of human nature. His earthly life was bound by time, yet it's striking how rarely He seemed rushed. The key difference: Jesus' rhythm wasn't dictated by circumstance or even urgent human need alone. His pace flowed from communion with His Father. This isn't about never being busy, it's about being unhurried within. What if this abiding connection to the source of life and wisdom is precisely what makes our efforts truly fruitful? What if by learning to move like Jesus at a pace that allows us to truly be with Him and be present to others, we unleash a kind of power unavailable to those driven by the world's relentless rush? So if we acknowledge that hurry is a problem, the answer isn't to immediately quit everything and retreat to a monastery. We have responsibilities, callings, and a mission in this world. The good news is that there is such a thing as healthy busyness. What healthy busyness looks like: it's about being active, engaged, even having full seasons, but with an internal rhythm that's fundamentally different. Imagine a flowing river. It may be swift, strong, with purpose, but it's not frantic. There's no undercurrent of desperation like we feel when constantly short on time. Healthy busyness flows from an inner wellspring of peace and connection with God. Proverbs 4:23 puts it bluntly: above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. When our hearts are hurried and frayed, even our most well-meaning service becomes strained. It's not about having less to do. The answer, counterintuitively, isn't always to cut back your commitments drastically. Sometimes it's about learning to inhabit the tasks in front of you in a different way, with an unrushed heart. This is something to be pursued, not perfected overnight. We must take time to meditate, to contemplate the truths of heaven. Notice, it's not about having endless free time, but prioritizing carving out space for the soul, even amidst activity. Could hurry be your secret enemy? Not in the obvious ways, perhaps, but what if, even amidst good intentions, it's subtly draining your joy, your peace, and your spiritual vibrancy? What if some of your good work is driven by a frantic pace rather than by true spiritual power? The opposite of hurry isn't sluggishness. It's an internal recalibration that aligns us with God's own pace. As we begin to embrace this, it changes everything. Our prayer life, how we interact with those we love, and the very way we carry ourselves in the world. This is an ongoing journey, a daily choice, but wouldn't it be revolutionary to live the kind of life where we can accomplish great things without being consumed or depleted in the process? That is possible. That is closer than you think. This video has been an unsettling watch, I know. There's no comfort in realizing that something as pervasive as hurry might be the very thing hindering our spiritual walk. Yet there's great hope found here too. True spiritual growth is a gift of God's grace. It's not earned through frantic striving or beating ourselves up about our pace. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. When we approach this issue in humility, recognizing our own inability to simply slow down by willpower, we open ourselves to the work of the Spirit. This doesn't mean your schedule instantly becomes wide open, but it does mean that even within a full life, spiritual transformation and a deeper connection with God are absolutely possible. It requires a shift in our understanding of what spiritual growth actually requires. The enemy isn't busyness itself. The enemy is a frantic, hurried spirit. There are many who become so engrossed with business that they have no time for prayer, no time for the study of the Bible. It's this internal state, not merely the number of items on our calendar, that we must wage war against. So, what does unhurrying look like, practically? That's a deeply personal question, with no one-size-fits-all answer. It might involve cutting back commitments where possible, building in small pockets of stillness, or learning to approach necessary tasks with a different heart. If this message has resonated, if you feel a deep yearning for a different kind of life, I urge you. Start exploring. Pray honestly, asking God to reveal where your own hurriedness is most keenly felt. Look at your daily rhythms and seek His guidance on what a single, sustainable change might look like. This journey begins with a simple willingness to slow down enough to listen to the still, small voice of God within. The spiritual life you long for, the freedom and power flowing from true connection with Jesus, is closer than you think. Could embracing His unhurried pace be the very key to unlocking it?